Good night and welcome to Mindful Life 417. I am your host or co-host, according to what night you're looking at this. Nathan Springer, thank you for being here. It's currently the 25th of July. Oh, chic man, send police out on biker. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. Once you're on the inside, make sure you hit that like button, double tap the screen over there on TikTok. That's how you hit that like button. We're out here in the beautiful Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, and we're talking news, culture, current events, all that pops up and is topical, at least to me, in the context of what I view. Usually, we're talking news directly from news articles, but it's a Thursday, and on a Thursday, we have it devoted mostly to talk. Not that every other night isn't talk too, but talk with the chat. Whatever the topics or questions you have in the chat, feel free to say it, ask it. You can jump in and join the conversation over there on TikTok. You can join and literally speak live to me and to the chat, and we can have a conversation. People were talking about the MP, the new man jumping in the Ministry of National Security. If you all have questions or comments, be sure to drop them in the chat. Hit that double tap over there on TikTok. Hit the like button over there on YouTube to get that running. And make sure the algorithm knows that this is some good stuff and all of that other good stuff. Well, remember it now, Rani. We'll jump into a bit of news because of the talk about the new MP as the minister in the Ministry of National Security. A series of articles are very interesting with this. A series of articles. Bandit steals SUV, tells driver he'll get it back. So we're delving into the good guy nature of the criminal community. The criminals are the good guys, apparently. Bandit steals SUV, tells driver he'll get it back. A bandit admitted to his intended victim on Tuesday that he needed his SUV and assured him, "You will get your vehicle back. I just going and put down and walk with it." The bizarre conversation took place at Peak's one-stop service station, Western Main Road, according to police. Police said around 3:27 p.m. Look at these times. 3:27, you getting carjacked? I guess a rush hour roadblock would catch that carjacking, if there was one when we needed it. The 57-year-old driver from Diego Martin was at the vacuum bay at the service station cleaning his Hyundai Tucson when he was approached by a bandit who simply raised his jersey, showed him a gun and said, "You will get your vehicle back. I just going and put down and walk with it." The man tossed the keys to the black-colored vehicle registration HEG 9647 and his almost $10,000 Samsung cell phone to the bandit. The bandit, joined by another, got into the SUV and sped off, closely followed by a silver-colored car. The man made a report to the police station, but up to late last night, what the bandit said didn't come through yet. Sheepman said, "Keith Scotland working with Hines, why not replace Hines?" Well, I guess you want as much help as you could get in that field. And continuing on the topic of the good guy bandits. Residents, gangs keep St. Paul Street safe. St. Paul Street, Port of Spain, may be associated with gangs, but residents say gangs actually keep them safe. The community has been the site of several shootings involving high-powered weapons, the most recent of which resulted in a police officer being shot. We know the details of that. You can go back through that from last night. The area has also become synonymous with a gang known as Six, but residents say the stigmas attached to the area are ignorant and unfair. You all don't understand, apparently. A shop owner in the area said while delivery vans were reluctant to come into the area, there was little chance they would be robbed if they did, as there was an order to be maintained. I think sometimes the leader is better than the police because they stipulate nobody's supposed to break into anybody's place. So sometimes you could forget your place open and nobody in coming in. And if anybody come and steal, they have to go and answer to the boss. Ronnie said, we all know that. Most times gangs planted deep in the community. Here's the thing. This is the natural progression of what happens when police fail to do their job. The job of the police is basically being the biggest, strongest gang of armed people. That's the job of the police. You are the biggest, strongest group of armed men in the country, and women. And women. Even though they struggle to arrest out in Citygate there, but yes. And them too. The reason being that the public, the law-abiding public, should feel like, well, the biggest, scariest group of armed people in this country are on my side. And the criminals should feel like the biggest, scariest group of armed people in this country are against me. And with that kind of balancing through the society, that's how the police are supposed to do the job of enforcing the law and keeping order. Sounds simple enough. But if there's a community where the police aren't the biggest, scariest gang really and truly, they're just another one of the many gangs people have to face. And the criminals of my community are actually more scared of another gang than of the police gang. Then why would I look to the police for justice? Like, I mean, this is a bit foolish when you think about the difficulty that these gangs cause in the communities and the poverty that many of these gangs spread through the communities inevitably. But on the side of the community, on the side of someone growing up in this as a vacuum, growing up with this being the only reality they understand, it makes perfect sense. If as I grow up, when somebody thief my bike, someone steals my bike, I call the police and the police say, hey, youth man, we don't come down that side, so you know. And I go and talk to the boss and the boss say, who do that boy? And he send out some men and I get back my bike. And he forced the man to apologize to me and buy me a lolly too. Who am I to be more loyal to? And is it unreasonable if I am locked in a community like this, where the gang literally does more to keep the order around me than the police? Why would I not hold the gang like my police? I'll pay the taxes to the gang because it doesn't make sense paying the taxes to the police. They aren't the ones doing the job. This is a thing as old as time, and this has happened in many places over and over and over again. That's what went on in Haiti. That's what's still going on in Haiti to some extent. Where the gangs, many times when you think of gangs and you think that it's just bad men doing bad things, to some extent, but many of the times it's a power play. And the gangs are playing for the power, and they are winning. How can you extricate a gang from a community when the community sees the gang as their personal police? How are you even getting rid of a gang like that? In case you all don't know, young boys often want to grow up to be police. Now what happens if in my community the gang is the police? When I'm young, what am I going to want to grow up to be? I want to grow up to be my neighborhood police, which is the gang. When I look out at my community, the persons and people I see getting things done are the gangsters. I think that's the police fault. Hopelessness in Silat after Monday mayhem. It's not a movie, it's real, it's sad. People are losing their lives. So said a Silas resident who wished to remain unnamed after Monday's incident, which resulted in 2 people, including a police officer being shot at St. Paul Street, East Port of Spain, and another man who some residents said was innocent, killed in a confrontation with police in Silas. You know, in writing, when I read this article, I was curious about the Express saying this. Yes, some residents said he was innocent. Did some residents say he wasn't? Because when you say who some residents say was innocent, to me it nearly sounds like, well, some said otherwise. I don't know, but why put the some there if no one said otherwise? Why not say who residents said was innocent? Obviously, it's not every single resident, but unless you got disagreeing word from another resident, why would you put some? That's interesting to me. Jonathan Warwood, aka Johnny Boy, was killed when police went to a home, and we read that last night. If you are interested in hearing that, you can head over to my YouTube channel, Nathan Springer, over there on YouTube, and you can catch all of those on repeat. The resident said our community is no longer locked in. It has nothing to do with a particular area. It's not about St. Paul's or Silas. Everything is happening everywhere. It's the whole country under siege. A sense of hopelessness is pervading the country. You have to guard yourself. The resident added the whole place is uncomfortable. The whole place feeling the same way, roadblocks all over. Are they really helping? People are feeling more frustrated. They are fed up and broke. They are not holding the criminals. Daily people are losing their lives. People are frightened. These 2 communities, Silat and Laventille, are under the representation of the People's National Movement. And the 2 MPs from those constituencies are now workers in the Ministry of National Security. That's curious. I'd like to see something come of that. I would like to hope that it is for the intention of concentrating the effort in the place where it's needed, and not actually for redirecting and shifting away from the places it is needed. Like for me, I find it very difficult to wrap my head around the reality that the Minister of National Security is the representative for the crime hotspot of the country that sees no real targeted police efforts. It has been the crime hotspot for a while, and it seems like the police have no idea what to do. He's the Member of Parliament. He's supposed to be on first name basis with villagers in those communities. He's supposed to know what's up. Scotland named Minister in the Ministry of National Security. Senior Counsel Keith Scotland is to be appointed. The Minister in the Ministry of National Security, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, has announced. He is the MP for Port of Spain South. That's Silat. Is Silas going to see a difference in how the police interact with them? Speaking during the post-cabinet press conference held at Whitehall today, Rowley said he advised the president to add Scotland to the cabinet to focus specifically on policing issues. So he's the minister in the Ministry of National Security in charge of policing issues. So I suppose the residents of Silat, who currently have an issue with the policing work that was done in their community recently, they have a direct line to the minister in charge of policing issues. How would that work? Danielle, who do you vote for? When you say keep voting race and continue down the rabbit hole, who do you vote for? Are you suggesting that the voters of PNM just vote race and that's how they end up down the rabbit hole? And which race are you? And which party do you vote for? Perchance. Are you independent of your race voting? Posts like national security shouldn't be changed like musical chairs, like that Joy says. Well, a lot of the public are clamoring for changing that, and this isn't a change like musical chairs. This isn't one where they remove Hines. They didn't remove Hines. Hines is still the Minister of National Security. They added another minister with him. Now, fair enough, national security is a massive ministry and it's extremely important. Maybe it's too much for one person and a second person works good. If that is the case, that the second person does bring about some effect, then grand. I don't have much hope though. I don't have much hope. And you know, it's always interesting to me that the PNM and their loyalists regularly say things like, you know, it's not the government and it's the society, and you have to understand the social factors, etc., etc. You can't blame the minister, you can't blame the police. So then what are we even doing when we hire these ministers? If it's not up to the Minister of National Security to solve crime, he doesn't really have much effect, then why are we even hiring another minister? If it has no effect, yet to see the Dan go to court on his bike, so can't take you serious either. Yeah, I would like to see a video of his coal pot cooking too. Whew. And this is coming right on the heels of Mr. Hines. In response to a question, National Security Minister says, "I'm very proud and confident of the work I've done so far." Minister Fitzgerald Hines was responding to questions from members of the media. With more than 54 murders for July alone, and 2 weekends ago, the country recording 18 murders, Hines has ignored calls for him to be removed and or resign. Hines was asked by the media what he thought about his performance, and in response, he said that he would not be able to rate himself and that citizens were allowed to freely express their views. That is not for me to judge. What I am satisfied with is that I give my mind, my time, my heart, and my soul to my work as a minister, and I do so very proudly and very confidently. But I do understand what my role and responsibilities are, and I understand full well what all the other roles and responsibilities are. I made it very clear at the beginning of this. There's where it was at. So I do my part and I do it thoroughly and I do it wholeheartedly. But the judge, that will not be for me. This is a democratic society, and they, the persons who call for Hines to step down, are free to express their views. You can't begrudge them of that, Hines said. In other countries, them ministers deceased, you know. We know what it takes to deal with crime, but that will cost an elections if done. Fact, Abu Friday, fact. Our nation, Gerard De Leon says our nation is a failed state with no confidence in those who govern us. Too much corruption. I wouldn't call us a failed state. And many other countries do not trust the people that govern them. The United States doesn't trust the people that govern them, and they consider themselves the very pinnacle of a successful state and a democracy. So yeah. Sheepman says Keith Scotland was a great lawyer. Don't know if he's putting the same effort into politics. I guess his results in the long run may have to tell that. I don't know. I don't know if the same effort goes into politics. Good question, though. Yeah, any further questions or comments? I say it's time for some militia laws. I've been saying this a while, Abu Friday. When I speak about opening up the legal avenue for firearm ownership, that's what I'm talking about. If a community is an armed community, they are by default already a militia. By default. And tell me what's going to happen if you run into an armed community. Oh, Trini Hotep, what's the good, bro? Still gonna vote PNM? Who are you talking about or to? Who is still gonna vote PNM? What do you mean by that? Hey, Lystra. You know, that's the thing. That's the thing that's so disappointing so often in so much politics. At least to me. That's one of the many things that's so disappointing. Yeah. Abu Friday, we just went through some of those. What's so disappointing to me very often is you could focus and point out the foolishness in one party so clearly, but then you see that the kind of blind support that is so foolish and disadvantageous on one side fully exists on the other too. By the way, white leather, FUL is a Trinidad term, but at least in the United States, they're militias. When they say militias, they are legally armed because legally they can. Sonia Massey, that's the lady who was shot in the United States by the police officers. Like, I found that to be wrong. There are many different facets in this. One, Sonia Massey, I consider to have acted extremely foolishly, and I think it so idiotic that especially the American black community and many black people all around the world tag themselves in with some of the most foolish extremes of that community. That community, in buying the BLM narrative and buying fully the police hate narrative, acts sometimes the most foolish around armed people. If two armed men are in my house, the last thing I want to do is get them antsy by threatening to throw a pot of boiling hot water on them. That's idiotic. You are foolish if you do that. You are not in the right, you are in the wrong. That's foolish. Do not do that. She was wrong. And she did indeed attempt to throw the pot of water on them. Yes, look at the second video. She tossed the pot. The pot was thrown. The pot was thrown. That's not actually in contention. Look at the second video. In slow-mo, they slow it down and zoom in. I follow all of the racists. All of the racists are very vested. No. She didn't drop it. You literally see her do this in the slow-mo. Lystra, find the second video. Look at the slowed down version and you would see he told her to drop it. Drop it isn't toss it. Drop it isn't toss it. Hadouken. Drop it isn't toss it. She tossed it. No, there was not. Lystra, you are not listening. Stop it. This is the annoyance that I get with that American black community. And they get riled up like this and run out and do foolishness and encourage more foolishness and more people to do more foolishness. Abu Friday, I didn't reach there yet. I'm starting with her side. That was exceedingly dumb, really foolish. However, you cannot tell me you are a trained law enforcement person. You are supposed to be trained in de-escalation. There are two big grown men They are armed with guns. They look like some of the fitter men you would find. A pot of hot boiling water is a dangerous thing. But you did not need to shoot a woman in her face to break down that situation. Especially considering that the woman initially called y'all to help her. That doesn't make sense. If the woman begins acting erratic, as some people do, just step back. Dial back to make sure that if she tosses the water, it doesn't fall on you. The shooting her doesn't make sense. That sounds like a trigger happy person. Now, the thing is, just before you jump in, the thing is, in the US, they are going to run with this like it's a race thing. I do not believe it's a race thing. I think it's a police thing. I don't think that the police saw that ninja. I just want to kill a ninja today, you know. Shoot her in the face. I actually don't think that was the case. I do. Yes, Listra.
Alright. Now, I don't know what video you saw, but I saw the video from when they were out in the yard. Now, I'm new to TikTok, so I'm still learning the language kind of, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were out in the yard, and then they were talking to her by the door, and they said, well, they were calling, and she took a while to come to the door, and she explained, well, she wasn't wearing clothes or whatever, she was dressing. They came into the house, they look around, she sat on the chair in the living room, right? And she was looking for whatever paperwork in the bag, and it was a nice, cool, calm conversation where they were asking her for identification and these sorts of things, and she told her, but she don't know where it was. And the officer who was behind the one who went in first, who had the wet one, right? Who fired at her. He is the one in the back who had the camera on, right? There was only one angle.
No, there were two. There were two body cameras. There was a second angle.
Wait, let me finish. I'll let you finish,
okay.
Right? The only body camera that was on at the time when they entered that home was the officer at the back. If you are familiar with body cams and how they operate, when they turn on and they turn off, there's a beep. I want you to pay attention to when the beep took place. This took place after he fired at the lady. After his body cam was not on. The body camera that picked up that footage was from the officer behind, right? The lady was saying, well, could you hand me the Bible, whatever? She listened to the conversation before that even happened, eh? She was like, well, can you hand me that Bible over there, or whatever? Like, woman is religious, I don't know, right? But it would appear so. She was sitting there calmly thinking the woman was clearly cooking. Look at the kitchen. The woman had seasoning there on the counter. It had a pot of water on the stove. You saw the woman, she got the things, and she was moving the pot of water. Listen to the pipe. Wait.
Listen. So on YouTube, for my YouTube viewers, you're continuing for a while now. For my YouTube viewers, I have the video pulled up here on YouTube, where you could see from under the officer's arm, where
page on YouTube. Let me pull it up so I can see.
Nathan Springer on YouTube, where
Springer?
Nathan Nathan Springer on YouTube, and you could see they broke it down really slow, where you could see under the officer's arm where she raises the pot, and you see the pot being tossed towards the officer. You see that motion.
I'm on my side, right?
And you see the pot being tossed. Now, here's the thing.
So I can see a little better.
Right under his arm, you see the pot being tossed. Here's the thing, though. As I'm saying all along, I don't think the tossing of the pot is grounds for shooting the woman anyway. And I think the trying to excuse the tossing of the pot is playing into the arms, into the...
Hold on.
Just now, let me finish.
Okay.
Is playing into the hands of the very people you're trying to argue with. Because continually, every time a black person is shot, the narrative they attempt to put out, the black side, the BLM side, attempts to put out, is the person was completely innocent, they did nothing wrong, and the racist whitey just went in and murdered them just so.
Nathan.
Just not. Wait, Lystra, wait. And that narrative is often debunked because it is wrong. And very often, the people involved were criminals doing criminal things when it happened, like Georgie. However, in many of those cases, their criminal behavior is irrelevant to the police's action. And the idea that you have to make them an angel to say that what the police did was wrong is foolish and plays into the arms of the opponent.
I'm going to allow you to, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're saying that you want to look at the character of the victim, have you looked at the character of that particular officer?
Where did I say I want to look at the character of the victim?
No, but if you're saying you want to talk about the character of the victim, we're not talking
Not the character. Wait, listen. Pause. You have to pause so we don't talk past each other. You have to pause. So I'm not talking about the character of the victim. I am talking about the behavior of the victim in that instance. Not their character long term, not whether they liked whoever, their behavior in the instance.
I understand what you're saying about the character, about the actions of the victim. However, what you are seeing and what I am seeing are two completely different things. As a woman that cooks, right? If I am picking up a hot pot of water, I am going to hold this pot of water away from me. If we look at the actions in the video, not the slow down one, look at the normal video. This woman took the stove and turned on the pipe. She was gonna rest it down. Now listen to the instruction the officer is giving her. Drop the pot of hot water. Make it make sense. How you gonna drop a pot of hot water? Wouldn't it burn her? She doesn't have a right to think about any kind of self-preservation. The woman called the police for help. What reason would she have to throw a pot of hot water at the officer with a gun? Make it make sense.
Well, just how you say now make it make sense and screaming at it, I could say the officer come to help a lady. What reason would he have to shoot a lady with the gun? Make it make sense.
And me singing like this is actually trying to get my voice out. I have a sore throat. I am sorry. I don't normally sing like this. So I'm not yelling. I'm actually trying to get my voice out. Okay, sorry.
What I'm saying is from all the looks of it, and I'm trying to put logic to it. I do not think the officer just... What you are trying to tell me is these officers went in there, they got the call, they went in there and saw this black woman and just felt murderous.
That is not what I'm saying at all.
So then why did they kill her?
What I am saying, no, we need to face the reality.
That
we're not just dealing with the natural, we are also dealing with the supernatural. Who don't believe that and believe that evil forces don't exist in this world, I sorry for you. Right? But look at the man reaction from the time she said rebuke in the name of Jesus. Look at the man attitude. Look his whole attitude change. They were having a nice calm conversation before that. From the time the name of Jesus get mentioned. Even when she say Bible, look at the man whole temperament change. Right? You pulling out gun.
Dion, let me answer Dion Reed so that no one in the chat is mistaken. I have said it once in this conversation and I'll say it again. I think the use of force was totally unnecessary. I think they were wrong. I think they should, at least if the evidence is as it appears now, he should be charged with murder because he was wrong. And this is the issue I'm having, where you are attempting to validate something that seems pretty evidently wrong. And for you to create the scenario that actually makes your version correct, it has to be a devil-worshipping guy who is triggered by the name of Jesus. For me, for my scenario to be correct, all it has to be is trigger-happy, over-aggressive police, which we have everywhere in the world.
That rebuke like it went under his skin, Nathan. That rebuke like it went under his skin a little bit.
Yes, but I don't think it's because he was demonic. I think, and that's what I'm saying, I think he got himself agitated in the situation. He sounds like he got angry, as some police do, and he got agitated about the whole thing, and then when it seemed like she going to throw the pot, well, he's agitated, and that's the situation that it erupts in. Now, my issue, Abu, just before you enter, but it's not you, it's Ronnie first. Ronnie, you next. My issue...
Just show the video I saw.
Just I saw your video. Everyone saw that video. I promise you, everyone saw that video. Just to dial that back, I do think the use of force was unnecessary. And my issue with this, as is my issue so often with the police, is you are going into that situation with the superior force. Even if this lady is acting crazy, you are the one supposed to be trained in de-escalation. Regularly in Trinidad, I remember this happened more than once. A family calls in the police to deal with their relative who's having a mental break. All they want is some manpower to help them deal with the person. The person is acting erratic, the police come in and kill the person. That's madness. Like, okay, yes, I understand the person may be dangerous, they may be erratic, but your life isn't actually in danger. This isn't the situation you are trained to shoot in. And the problem I have very often is because the black community is trained to be pro-black to the foolish extent. The black community is trained to be so pro-black that we must be fools while being pro-black. They could pop up the Kamala woman and say she is black, and all of you must follow in line lockstep. We are trained that way, that it's inevitable. Whenever it happens, we run to prove the black person was indeed Jesus incarnated when they did the wrong thing. That's not necessary, because very often, if you speak to just now, Nalistra, very often, if you speak to police, they don't go into those situations to random people. Very often, it's a criminal. Sometimes they behave badly with the criminal, like in England, where the police kick and then drop his knee on the guy's head. Maybe the guy was indeed a criminal, but you don't kick and knee stamp a criminal. That's not your job. And you don't have to try to convince the world that your criminal buddy was a good guy in order to do that. Yeah, Ronnie?
Hi, good night. This week I was actually thinking about it. I was like, wait, nah, this is the first electoral year in America where there is not going to be BLM riots.
Oh, you were mistaken. It happens every election year without fail, because the black people are that predictable. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like thinking about it this week. But a few things that I was hearing the story, and for me the stories did not make sense. So I didn't want to cast any judgment on anybody, but the story just didn't make sense from just no account of it. So that's why I was just like, okay, cool. I need to take in the second video, but of course the force was terrible. It was so unnecessary, and of course he's going to jail. But things to note though, while I haven't seen any other footage. Actually, I haven't seen any footage because I was doing the first one and I just couldn't take it. I was like, oh my God, nope, exit. Because I can deal with that. But what I would like to see is she suffers with some form of schizophrenia or something like that, right? She has mental issues. And from dealing with people in that frame of mind, it gets tricky. That's what I would say. It's tricky. I'm not saying the guy is right at all. Hell no. He will go to jail and he will rot there for the most part. But I think it goes to say, like, it goes without saying, things happen, right? Second thing, I think it's still a lot of people, the racial dynamic of it. White officer, black victim, blah, blah, blah. But I think if we could just remove the race from it, it's still, you can still see the wrong in it, right? Which is what I would prefer to do. It's just stop thinking about this as a black and white issue. Of course, what the guy did, it was still wrong. Even if he was white, if he was black, if she was white.
And Ronnie...
And I think that is more important than just the hills and valleys that we have to create to make us still.
And you know, that point you're making there, and Willie Beng, you're seeing that, and again, the facts don't bear out what you're saying. The American police kill more white guys unarmed. I could show you video after video of white unarmed guy being murdered by the police that will shatter your heart into pieces. You like, these people are evil, they are crazy. White police, white guys, black police, white guys. The racial dynamic of it is what makes a lot of people lose the ability to actually evaluate this well. You see it in Trinidad. In Trinidad, where there are black police majority and black offenders majority. And then the other part of this is they talk about the reality of police in the United States interacting with black men more. I think in order to evaluate that properly, you need to evaluate why black men are more often the perpetrators of violent crime. You evaluate that, you'd figure out the other. Yes, Lystra?
Can I ask you a question? Have you ever been to the US?
Nope. Both my brothers have. I have a lot of family living there, but I have never been there personally.
I can tell you of my own personal experience as a person who has been traveling to the US my entire life, right? Now, is that...
Here's the reason, let's try pause. Here's the reason I don't believe you, and it's going to sound bad, and I don't care. Because the black Americans that I meet, I know a lot of them, I'm related, but you talk to them and the facts don't bear out the things that they say is their lived experience. You ask black Americans, what is this? Wait, what is the statistic? What is the statistics on the amount of officer-related killings to blacks? And they talk something that is something like 1,000% the actual fact.
And you're trying to assume what it is I was going to say.
No, what I'm saying is what you're going to say is a fallacy. Wait, what you're using is a fallacy to attempt to make what you're going to say seem like it's more potent, and I'm saying that doesn't matter.
You're assuming what I'm going to say.
I am saying what you're going to say doesn't matter because of what you prefaced it with. That's what I'm saying.
Because I said that I'm a person that has traveled to the United States of America.
Because exactly, that is called a fallacy. You're appealing to authority, and that's what I'm saying.
To prove it.
What?
Do I need to show you?
You don't understand what I'm saying. You don't understand what I'm saying. It's like I'm telling you, well, my degree is in XYZ before I tell you what I'm going to say. The idea of me telling you my degree is in XYZ before I say it is I'm trying to put forward that fallacy of I'm trying to speak from the position of authority to make what I'm saying. Wait.
That's what you are doing. You are speaking about something that you have never actually experienced.
Lystra, I will have to mute you. Please, Lystra, please stop and listen. Please.
That's your life, I listen.
Right. So, the position of authority fallacy that I'm talking about is not what I am saying, where I am saying that this is the fact as I see it. The statistics bear this out. I have seen this. I have read this. This. That's not the fallacy of authority. What that would be is if I said, well, actually, I am a PhD in criminology. And as as my PhD in criminology would know, is that all XYZ, 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 XYZ. I don't need that. That's not what I'm saying. If you want to say something and bear it as an opinion or as a fact, present it. Do not attempt to boost it up with the fallacy of authority. That's not how factual discussions work.
Okay.
So say what you want to say plainly.
Okay. I wasn't trying to do that, but okay. All I'm saying is, as a person that has been to the US, I grew up in Trinidad and Tobago, and I never thought that racism was like a real thing, right?
Where in Trinidad and Tobago you grew up?
African, but I grew up with Indians, and I was never treated any kind of way by them.
In Trinidad and Tobago?
In Trinidad and Tobago, believe it or not. The community I grew up in.
Well, I could speak from a position of authority there.
Together, and we never had no kind of
as a Trini who really know Indians real good, personally real good, I could say that isn't true. That's what speaking from the position of authority and using it as a fallacy is.
What I'm saying is, even if they were racist, the community that I grew up in, they never show it to me. Right? They were very kind people. We literally grew up like brothers and sisters, right? In the area where I am.
What community that was, perchance?
Oh gosh, that's a kind of dangerous thing, but I am from the Belmont area.
How much Indians in Belmont?
Plenty. You'll be surprised. The whole street where I live is more or less Indians.
I see.
But anyway.
And the interaction is all above board and good?
Well, we good. Everybody normal.
Nice.
Everybody children play together. We grew up in the streets, play together, eating junk together, climbing everybody's tree. That's how we grew. And I know that is not everybody's experience, but that was mine. Right? When I went to other areas in Trinidad, that is when I experienced the difference with people saying this coolie and nigga and that sort of thing. Right? That is where but in my own community, I didn't get that. Now, when I went to the States, I never experienced racism before. But I went to a store in Green Acres Mall. I will never forget it. I felt so embarrassed. I was there dressed, I had my bags, I was ready to shop. And if you see all these people and other people in the store, they didn't treat them like that. They literally followed me through that entire store. That is the first time I ever experienced racism. I was in a car with my cousin and I was pulled over by the police and I saw the difference with how they dealt with it. Now again.
What difference you saw? Wait. Let's go back. Wait. What difference you saw in the pullover?
What difference I saw in the pullover?
What to compare it? Were you in the car with a white person and were you in the car with a black person and saw that difference?
I've seen black and white people being pulled over there.
Right. What did you see? How did you see it?
The way that they speak to you and approach you. They treat you like you're actually like you're suspicious. And I'm not saying that is everybody's experience. All I wanted to say is that racism is something that is really real and not all police are guilty of it. What BLM has done is distort the message that many people was trying to get out there. Many movements are hijacked out here. People are labeling as a hell of a thing. People might come out and say, look, we can talk about other communities that have been hijacked and it turned out to be something totally ugly. All I'm saying is racism really does exist, and this whole situation where I'm talking about with this girl, I'm not even looking at it through the racist lens. I was just looking at it as in what happened. I'm not looking at people's color. I'm not looking at people's race or where people raised or the community. I wasn't looking at that. I was just looking at the situation as it was, as I saw it. If it was justified, if it was warranted, if she did anything at all to warrant that kind of behavior.
It was unjustified in my opinion.
I didn't see that.
I said from the jump, in my opinion, it was unjustified. Now, to say what you were saying there, I have been followed in many stores in Trinidad and Tobago. Like, That's not an uncommon thing. And what I have noticed just now, and speaking to some people who live there, what I have noticed very often, as people will talk about in other countries and in Trinidad and Tobago, it's very often a class issue than a race issue in how the police treat you. So if I am driving a more expensive vehicle and I'm looking relatively neat and the police stop me, they would speak to me one way. While if I am in three-quarter pants and desert storm boots with no lace and a wife beater walking through Shogunas, they will speak to me a different way. And it's not about
profiling.
Yes, I'm not saying no. I'm not saying no. But this is what I notice way more than racism. And this isn't a thing that happens only across racial lines. Within races, this happens. And here's the thing. Profiling is just human nature. People try to make profiling seem like an extremely odd, strange thing. But you profile people too. If you don't, you are a fool. And you are going to become a victim very quickly. Of course, people are profiled. That's why your mother tells you don't dress like that, comb your hair like this, behave like this, because people treat you according to how they see you. I was saying this the other day. When they say don't judge a book by the cover, that's some real high-class rubbish. Why do they make book covers? So that you have a fair judge of the book.
Yeah.
Duh.
Because it's like this is what I always say. Sorry for the phrase, but some people will want to dress looking like I'll clean it up a bit, a hooker. And then if somebody treats you like a garden tool, you wonder why they treat you that way. If you dress like a police officer, they're going to think you're a police officer. So
yes, Chappelle.
You're a garden tool. It's not rocket science.
Correct.
It doesn't justify people treating you that way.
That's why I dealt with those two. That's why I dealt with those two separately. I dealt with the behavioral side, and then I dealt with whether it's justified. It's not justified, and acting like it's justified is going to get you some evil police. You don't want that. But at the same time, you have to try and think about behaviors too. You have to try to figure out, why is it that this specific community ends up in this problem? Is it just that all of these people are indeed racist? Is that really the issue? Or is there a behavioral aspect? And is it that negative behaviors are reinforced and taught? And some of those negative behaviors give you more negative outcomes. How often, how many, so I see a lot of videos of police brutality and some black people. I also see a lot of videos of black people being boorishly foolish and ignorant with police, seeming like they're trying to test them to see if they would shoot them. And to me, that makes no sense. Like, okay, they would be unjustified if they shoot you, but why do that? Yeah, Abu.
Well, let me back up something. Tough one, let's just say it quick. In Gonzales, it's how part of Gonzales community, if you go up the hill, is mostly East Indians. And really and truly, I never encountered a race issue with them. I don't know if it's a tongue thing and they grew up different in tongue, I don't know, I just say. I never really experienced that with them in the Port of Spain district, even in Barataria, plenty on Malik. Plenty seniors living in Malik. Never experienced that. Tongue on this ends. That's what I would say. Right? Honestly, I don't know if it's a different year. As for that situation there with that lady that get killed, I listen to a lawyer today talking about that. You see the fact that that officer told her he will shoot her in her face before he did it. He said he would do it before he did it. The lawyer said that is plain premeditated right there. You know now, yeah, I'm not saying all the police in the US are racist. I can't say that. Because I mean when I'm out there and I need some information, I just prefer to go to them. Honestly, I prefer to go and deal with them than deal with a stranger I don't know. That's the part of the job. But it have the racist ones.
Obviously.
I never experienced the racism, but I've seen it with other people. I've seen it almost cause a riot in Brooklyn at one point.
What do you think should be done about racism?
Nothing can be done. There is a human thing, and nothing could be done about that. There is people personal issues.
What and do you think racism is something new? It's just we recently.
I don't study that. I don't really care about that. I don't really study that and take on that.
It's just we recently coined a term for it, but it's always been, and to some extent, everyone is racist. Everyone has in-group biases. Everyone. And you know, when they test communities for in-group biases, very often some of the black communities have the highest in-group biases. Like when you look at communities and you see that this race generally marries the same race, they have friends of the same race, that's not a coincidence. There is an in-group bias.
I think the only race that doesn't really care about Islamic is African descent. Don't really care about that.
Ooh, you are dead wrong, brother. But that's another topic. But oh, you are dead wrong.
I know it have the ones who totally against it, but I don't think it's like a majority and a major issue.
As an Afro man who has delved across racial lines, the Afro woman very often.
Oh no, yeah.
Oh, they're big mad. They're big mad.
Say it now, I want to know.
I agree with you there.
Big mad. And they could get nastily mad too. Real nasty with it. Have Africans in Africa that racist to other Africans from different tribes. Militant Rockstar, that's one of the reasons Africa is always in the bacchanalities. Because when the Europeans left and left big massive countries in the European style like Nigeria and South Africa and Namibia, and the tribes didn't have no country like that. It was the Igbo, and they had their tribe there, and they were warring with the neighboring tribes and trading on occasions and that kind of stuff. And you just come and throw all of them in one country like they're all together. You think they're all together, but he knows that his great-great-great-great-great-grandfather hated your great-great-great-great-grandfather, and his son was murdered by your nephew. Those things aren't going to be buried by naming a country over. So that's reality all about the world. All about the world. The Hutus and Tutsis of the Rwandan genocide, they are the same genetic group. They are the same ethnicity. They are, well, not technically you might say a different ethnicity, but the same genetic racial group. Identical. The only difference is over a couple centuries, one group was treated better and generally they became the house, and one group was more of the field. In both the colonial terms and when they ruled themselves, one group was more the ruling class elite, one group was more the working class, lower class.
So can I ask?
That was the difference, and that caused genocide where they were murdering each other by the thousands. Yeah, let's ask.
Okay, so what is we know that we cannot get rid of racism. It is ingrained in us in some way, shape or form, right? We all have our biases. I totally agree with you. But knowing what we know now and the kind of harm and hurt and pain and destruction that it can cause, what is our solution? Because we know that those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. So going forward, what are we going to do as individuals? Because it all starts with you, with you, with me, with what we teach our children. You understand? And this is how, if we continue to perpetrate this type of behavior, this is what will continue. So what are we going to do on an individual level for this not to continue? Are we going to stand silently and say nothing and watch evil prevail? Or are we going to be one to speak out and draw the line and say, no, this is not right, we cannot allow this? What are we to do?
I think one of the worst things that was done in the Western world to try to alleviate racism was to focus on it with a magnifying glass. And the US President, Barack Hussein Obama, when he came in, and he came in on the wings of the United States hoping that, hey, we got over all our racial grievances. Look, even us voted for a black guy. And then he came in and stood up the BLM group. And they focused in on race with a magnifying glass and a fine-tooth comb. And if you do that, you are just going to increase the racial grievances. That's just the reality. Because there are going to be, all right, Hotep, you next. Because there are going to be grievances. There are grievances. You can't avoid that. If you attempt to focus on them with a magnifying glass, you are going to just blow them up. I remember, was it, what's this deep voice guy, Morgan Freeman? I don't think he might say that in modern time. But they were asking him what does he want to do about the racist, and he says, stop speaking about it. And here's the thing. Not stop speaking about atrocities, but stop speaking about atrocities as in trying to find out the nitty-gritty reasoning behind it. It's the same thing like some people try to do with the gender issues. Like the reason this man murdered a woman is really misogyny and we have to deal with toxic masculinity. Because some crazy man is a murderer, you trying to get all men to look inside themselves and find where they hate women. Well, that's exactly what all men are going to start to do. And it's the same thing with the race. Because you see some mad racist or some mad white man does something to a black person and you try to focus in on the race of that, try to awaken racial consciousness. Do you want to awaken all the racial consciousness of all the white people? Does that sound like a good idea to you? No. Like, there are crimes already. We already know. No. That's, she's reading a book. The host is reading a book in the background. That's what you're hearing. Literally reading a book. And that's what I think a lot of the problems are. We focused in too much on those issues. They are already crimes. If somebody murders someone, it's a crime. That's where we draw the line. We have already decided where we draw the line. They are crimes. If you rob me, it's a crime. If you steal from me, it's a crime. If you kill me or hurt me, it's a crime. We know the crimes. I don't even have to know that you didn't like my melanin and that's why you did it. It's a crime. We have already figured this out. But now, all over the Western world, they are going through and trying to add little special asterisks by the crime. This is a hate crime. As if it matters really and truly. No. We draw the line at criminality. On the state level, that's what we do. And we don't focus on racial issues on the social level. We don't. I think that since the 2000s, when the racial issues blew up in the United States, and from there, if they sneeze, everyone catches the cold, in turn all around the Western world, racial issues have gotten worse. They have gotten worse. Yeah, boy, Hotep. What's the word?
Yeah, what's going on, man? Yeah, as the resident pro-black guy, as the resident pro-black Pan-African guy, you know, I don't really care. You know, I don't really care what who really think about. Listen, I'm a pro-black guy. I care about black people. That's just it, right? I talk about racism. It doesn't, it's not like it's not a thing. It's a thing. But I talk about it from the standpoint, I don't ever sound like it exactly because you only took one look at my Twitter X profile or maybe go on Clubhouse and I'm saying, I be talking about it sometimes. But I talk about it from the standpoint of that, black people need to kind of not make that a kind of victimhood kind of thing versus trying to actually seek their own best interest type of thing. See, I find black people are easily triggered by emotions, and it's easy to rile up black people in certain instances when it comes to particular things, especially in the Western Hemisphere. And I find that to be sad because, you know, it's easily a usable tactic by interest groups. And to me, it's like, really good, you know?
Yeah. It was my internet.
Yeah, I think
it dropped, and hopefully it's coming back. I'm on data right now, so let's go. I'm good.
Yeah. So I think it's easy, right? To use the white officer kills black person thing, and I've never really argued from the standpoint of I have to make the black person the moral victim versus, you know, the perpetrator as the evil person. It's never really that. It's like, hey, look, the police officers generally, they hold a kind of certain power, and we can see how, you know, their power tends to have them with this leeway of doing some reckless stuff. We don't need to argue from the standpoint of making black people the moral, you know, victim, right? The woman is already a victim. She's dead.
Exactly.
It's like, that's it, right? She might have been in the wrong, but it's like, let me talk from the standpoint of, hey, maybe officers need to kind of dial it back in terms of what they think supposed to be done, because we can clearly see, like, all over the world with police officers they just don't know how to act at this point. There's like babies with guns, and we can talk about that without having to
you know, it is Hotep.
Black and white narrative, you know.
I don't even think that it's a matter of the police dialing it back per se, because I feel the ones who are the problem cannot dial it back. I think the issue is we end up with the wrong people as police, and we see it in Trinidad constantly. I find you should ask somebody, classmates, if they should be a police. Don't ask the neighbors. Send letters out to all their classmates that they went to school with from high school, go down. Find out if this person was a loner back in high school, if they used to get bullied back in high school, and they're going to become a police with a chip on their shoulder, and I go and get back at all the advantages people in society, you know. There are lots of police with hair trigger emotions and tempers. Like, sir, who has hurt you in your life? You are the one in the position of power, and you are quick to lose control. That's insane. That's insane. And things like that allow you to understand why so often there are so many higher abuse statistics inside of the police service.
That is true. Can I chime in?
Of course.
All right. So I actually have a girlfriend that is a police officer, and I was speaking with her just recently, and the kind of things, you know, an angle that a lot of people don't take into account is the kind of things that these officers deal with on a daily basis. They want to go home to their families too.
True.
It have ways the word they could use on TikTok. It have people that not completely sane out here. You understand? And they have to deal with these people.
Yes.
You understand? It have irrational people out here. Sorry. And dealing with getting these reports. Remember, in these positions, you are there responsible to take on everybody problems, you know.
Yeah.
From abuse to children, to women, to men, the kind of stories that these people are exposed to every day. This is traumatic.
I fully agree.
You expect them to act normal. We have no therapy for these people, and these people want to go. Now, we all know, we say, well, that's what they sign up for. fine. All of us want to feel safe, right? And true. That's what they sign up for, because some of them really didn't have a choice. Some of them just want to take care of the family, and let's face it, getting employment in Trinidad is hard.
Yeah.
Some of them joined for the right reason, because they really wanted to make the country a better place, but they're still exposed to these things.
Yeah,
and there's a reality that we as civilians do have to deal with.
I don't agree with that part necessarily. I agree that police...
In the sense that we not putting ourselves in the line of fire to protect someone else. We will put ourselves in the line of fire.
Well, Listra, actually, now in Trinidad and Tobago, the police can command, well, it was always so, but they're prosecuting you at it now. They will command you to put yourselves in the line of fire to help them do their duty. And that's part of their job.
They love us, so they take good care of us. Only they don't understand and have the plan. I'm dancing left foot and right foot. And it's till I die, okay? Until we all die.
Ronnie, let me, I know Ronnie, I'm here, we'll go next. Ronnie says she wants to dive out there before our data finish.
Sorry. So just a few things. One, police officers do get counseling and whatever. If they kill anybody in the line of duty, they do get like a psychologist or a psychiatrist or whatever. A citizen is in more danger of being killed than a police officer. In the last few weeks, months, how much innocent people would have been killed? One police officer died recently. You understand? We walk in here with no protection. So,
you mean like was killed?
A police officer was been shot.
He died?
I'm talking about.
Yes, it bullet puncture.
But I saw he was fighting in hospital. The news came out that he died?
Yes.
I think so. But at the end of the day,
that's confirmed? I didn't know that. Wow.
We don't have nothing.
That's what I thought, Kermac.
With no protection. He alive. Oh my God, I just killed him, man.
Don't kill officer. Don't kill officer. Sir, we want you to live. Send out the prayer for your life, sir.
Yeah. I hope you recover quickly. Yeah, but we don't have that. We don't even have anybody to protect. Even if they kill us, we don't even have anybody to write back to. You understand? Them police and them not good. If they kill a police officer, but people done. Officers riding. We ride at dawn. Nobody coming to kill for me. Yeah, so I don't buy all of this nonsense. I hate this poaching that's so hard to get jobs. That's a lie. People just want to do the jobs that they have, and that's on them. But last thing I want to say, somebody said something. Oh my God, Apple Friday said something, and I forgot what he said, and I wanted to say. Oh, I had to answer one person in the chat about why, or if they treat whites and Asians differently, and I said that they commit less crime on a group level, right? We're talking about per capita, I guess, in a group, because in America, black people make up like how much? 14% of America, some shit number like that. Yet they commit so much more crime on a scale level. It's crazy. Of course, white people outnumber them, but they also outnumber everybody in America. And then the last thing, do we really want to provoke the spirit of race in people?
That's what I'm saying.
Because if you look at who has race wars, to fight these race wars, black people don't have it. They don't have the numbers to back them. They don't have the unity to back them. So try and stay away from the race war. You have no race war. Stop already. You have yourself. You raise up your child correctly. I will raise my child correctly. And probably, mix them in some way. And lastly, because I'm not a data, if I can use only data, I can use it. Most Indians who grew up in like town side are very different from Indians that grew up in country. Very different. I think a lot of them who grew up in town, sometimes, I mean, I don't remember too much liberty, sometimes a lot of them would have been thrown out of their family homes for being a ninja lover. So that's why they're so nice in most cases. Not in some cases. So, I made them a data.
Yeah. So leaving that last topic right there. Wheeling back from that.
Listen, I was sitting on here waiting to talk for a while, so I had to go through everybody. So I'll be in the chat.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. That that when they saw some Black Panthers grab some guns, they started with the gun control laws in certain places. But actually, in the US, they have been becoming more lax on gun control. There were more gun control laws like in the mid-1900s than there are now. There weren't any open carry states and constitutional carry states like there are now. So actually, the US is becoming more liberal on guns, and it's becoming more liberal on guns as the violent crime becomes more publicized. Trini Hotep, I saw the point you made about per capita on an entire country basis is wild, because it is. And that same statistic, what that causes, the fact that it's wild actually makes that statistic more wild in the conclusive sense. Here's what I mean by that. The statistic is something like black people make up 14% of the US population, and they commit something like 52% of violent crimes or something. So 1452 always, or 1450. Those racists love those numbers. But just now, let me just finish the point before I lose it. But the reality of that is that number is actually even crazier, because it's not all the black community does those violent crimes. It's actually a very minuscule part of young black males in certain specific geographical communities between the ages of like 14 to 26 or something like that. So it's probably more like 2% of the population doing 50% of the crime.
Thank you. You know what's funny? When because Nathan, think about it. You trying to tell me?
No, that's what I'm saying, Kermac. That's what I am saying.
But that was to me. This is what I didn't say, right? And this is what I tell my sons and them. I just tell them. I say everywhere. It might sound real harsh, but it's reality. We talk about racism, but eventually, most crime that going on out here is on black on black. Because look at that small, you said 2% created all that violent crime, 52% of the whole of America, and it have more white people than ever. Means 14% of that make up America. So
but Krimak, what that does, Krim, is the other 12% is stigmatized based on the 2%, like if the other 12% are doing the 52, while the other 12% may in fact be less criminally minded than even the white or Asian communities. But it wouldn't tell when you grab all of them together and throw them in a statistic together. So in Trinidad, the example of that in Trinidad might be if you do black versus Indo in Trinidad, the violent crime may look one way. But if you do Belmont versus West Moorings. In Belmont, you would see a certain level of crime, and in West Moorings, you would see a certain level. And then, somebody said in Belmont there are various races, and you might see, if you were to look at per capita in Belmont for the races involved in certain things, it might shock you. How did that happen? Because it's not really on races and culture, it's on specific geographical locations that endorse the culture.
Have you ever heard of the rat race?
Yes.
What did you gather from that?
If you're talking about the rat...
The experiment.
Which experiment? The Rat Utopia experiment, you mean?
Well, I know it as the rat race experiment.
Where they gave the rats everything they wanted?
And then they have those where the conditions deplorable and these sort of things. What did you pick up or learn from that experiment?
I can't remember the results of those in the deplorable sense. I remember a rat utopia experiment where they gave rats everything they needed to have a comfortable life, and they basically became the United States.
Yes, you should really go and look into that, because we understand that there are many different factions at play. When you look at something in politics or country, there are different forces at play. And
True.
we have to understand what I'm trying to say without saying it. There are different forces at play. And if you go and look at the rat race experiment, where the part of it where they gave the rats everything that they need, and the other part where they were living in deplorable conditions, closed up together, all this sort of thing, and you look at the behavior of the rats, that's exactly what they did with human beings. There are certain chemicals that is put into the water supply, the air, the food, even the social media that you consume. Everything is poison, and you need to understand that it affects certain communities.
They're making the frogs gay! I wonder who could get a reference.
It affects certain communities differently. So when we look at particular groups of people, we need to take these things into account as well. You know, it's not that you're looking for a cop-out or anything like that, but we need to face the reality that these things are happening. Okay?
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. When you're trying to say we condition. So now you're trying to say we condition. Condition to be as
let me be real. The conditions or the society or environment that you are affects the way that you think and affects the way that you behave.
I can speak now, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Thanks. What I'm saying, I don't believe that at all, because just as you say in that certain parts of wherever, that person know how to behave. To me, we just encourage that and we make excuses for foolishness. And when I think about it, these same areas, persons who is law-abiding and suffering by these other persons and stigmatized will sit down there and allow these persons to stigmatize them and to do what they want. At the end of the day, everybody have a choice. And we choose, we as whoever you want to put us as, we choose to go down the shortcut. We choose to do the easy things. We choose to pick up a gun rather than pick up a book or do it to business or what have you. When you watch all the other races, why is only us all over the world? Not just in Trinidad.
And
Just now, let's try. Let me hear Abu. Go ahead, Abu. Let me go in and order the let's try. Let's try. Let them get a chance. Let them get a chance. Abu, what you saying, neighbor?
I wanted to add something to what Krimak said, right? No, Krimak, you can't just blame. You can't just excuse the racism in the US because the black population doing most of the violent crime, because the racism is them way deeper and further than that, right? It's way deeper and further than that. Now, as to where you're concerning things where people in these communities are allowed and why other communities excelling, now, I agree with what you're saying there, but it's about twofold to that from. I hesitate it from both sides, right? No. Realistically, we have populations, we have a side of the population who allegedly, decades ago, do all the dirt, invest the money, and live in good now. Let me be realistic about it. Let me be realistic about it. Let me be realistic, right? We had the small percentage in a community doing dirt now, but they ain't doing it wisely and they ain't investing the money when they getting from it. They're just creating unnecessary problems. Like they need somebody to teach them what to do with the money. Because to me, saying that other communities invest in business and they do this and they do that, that kind of iffy, because it have communities with millionaires that do the dirt and they invest in millionaires living now. I mean, don't do me that too much. I don't want to call no names, but don't do me that too much. But you don't do me that too much.
White leather, I'm laughing because I think you're right. I think you're right, white leather.
We are being ostracized now because everybody bearing this stuff there. They need to talk about. They can say practically in Trinidad and Tobago. Let us use Trinidad and Tobago as an example. Yeah. We are practically balanced with the Indo and the Africans. Indo start where we start. Let me be really.
Don't come with that lie.
No, let me finish. I respect everybody. When they say no, their points, I respect it. When they say no, their points, I respect what they listen.
That indentured servants started.
When they say no, their points, and they still poor. They still came from where they come from. They came without choice. Because they had debts or whatever. They came by choice. The only difference is there was one was forced and the others came by force. But they came from somewhere in the same spot. They were still doing the same slavery. What I talking about slavery.
Just now. Let me see if I could wrangle in some of this.
All of us was in the same position. The same poverty.
Poverty was the same.
I'm going to finish now.
Finish, Krim. Finish.
They came from the same position. They were not the same.
The industries.
Wait, let him finish his point, then you will rebut it. Let him finish, then you will rebut it. Go ahead, Kermack, you finish?
No, I get time to speak.
Finish your point.
All of us, both sides came from the same hole, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether they come by choice or not. But the whole thing about what I'm saying is that look where they are now. And why it's only us alone? Where it's out of 100% of the crimes in Trinidad and Tobago, 96% is committed by us. They can't come and tell me, listen to what I'm saying. Alright.
Nathan, I have a problem with this, right?
Yeah.
Because
I'm not attacking nobody, and I can make my point, and making their point. And I expect people making their points. And you just attacking me right too.
Come on, Kermack. No, because I regularly hear this, right? This is not only a Trinidad talking point. Black people in America make that similar talking points too. Oh, and I'm not disputing the fact that black people have to get their stuff together. But I find
they can't come out when I say that and they want to justify it. They don't pick a side. Is that the reality?
Just now, Let me just pull in because I had to close just now. My child need to fall asleep and she is sleeping with me up. Here's where I think some of this reality is. Similarly, as we were making the point with the 2% versus the 14%. And I see this happen. Let's bring it away from the race and bring it into some gender. It happens with men too, where women say we will choose the bear over the man, and then women say it's on the men to go out there and see what's wrong with all the men and fix it. While really it's not a problem with all
women.
All right, let's try. I know. You are saying the very point I am making here. You are saying the very point I am making, where women say all men need to go out there and solve this issue. While it's not an issue with all men, it's an issue with a specific small group of sick, crazy men. Similarly, in the black community, the racial, ethnic community, yes, they are overrepresented in violent crime. Now, I like to specify violent crime because there are different types of crime that may not see an overrepresentation of black people. Black people are indeed overrepresented in violent crime. The reasons of which may go down all kinds of depths, but it is true. Now, the reality is that is not the entirety of the black community. And if you tell the entirety of the black community, some mother, father with their two, just now, let me finish.
We'll tell you what community black people, inherit and living in that is positive. You name one community. You know there's quite plenty from the Syrian, the Chinese, and the East Indians. Name one community that don't have problems. Name one community that don't have problems as black people.
Just
Heavily populated by black people. Oh my God.
But the whole of Belmont do have crime. One side of Belmont have crime. The whole of Belmont do have crime. Belmont, listen to me. It's have Belmont road, one side. You know you're going to meet all the gang activity on the next side. Barely have that issue. I mean, really real.
listen. And Kermac, just now. I'd like you to know, and many people in Trinidad don't seem to know this. There are many extremely wealthy Afro-Trinidadian circles, you know. When they talk about Rowley and his friend in Tobago who own a series of apartments and get locked up for illegal quarrying because he owns some quarries down here, and the crew they roll with, the lawyer friend who is the chairman of 5 different groups, you think, what do you think their children do? You think Obama's children are in the hood somewhere running about doing madness? It's not a race thing in specific, like anywhere where people have too much melanin in their skin, it's going to inevitably devolve into folly. I believe a lot of it is simply cultural, and many of the times the things that people endorse, sometimes the wealthier people, some educated Pan-Africanists, not throwing this at you necessarily, Trini Hota, but there are some who say some foolish things. They're educated, their children are educated in foreign, their children are treated a certain way, behave a certain way. They go into lower class black communities and encourage them to continue behaving the fool. It's not all the community. It's a specific small group. And then when you go into some of those specific small groups, you recognize it's not one race inside there. It's actually multiple races all acting the same.
On Belmont here right now, right? Because
why must I allow him to talk about this?
Apparently, let me correct you. No, let me correct you. Please allow me to correct you. Right? Please allow me to correct you, because obviously you are police officer. Obviously, right? Nathan, let me tell you how Belmont divided. Right now, one side of Belmont, the people building $1 million condos in Belmont. Belmont,
right now. Who are the people that building that? Don't do that. Don't mix and match.
Don't mix and match. Kermac, you're someone like a perfect police. I don't know he's a police. Right?
Let me don't reach the blows.
Why are you talking about police and be professional?
I don't need police that's talking right now.
And that's what I want to tell the police and saying.
But Kermac, it's I think
I am showing you a community. I am showing you a community that historically has been a black community. Historically has been a black community. These are
it's not anymore.
Soldier.
Well, you know, Kermac, here's the problem. Pause. Yeah. Listen. I think we'll have to continue this excitement tomorrow. Here's the issue. I think though, Kermac, with what you're asking for, it would become difficult to show, because if someone says this is a black community, it's easy to say, well, that is not really a black community. So which would really be a black? Like, is there any one ethnic community in Trinidad and Tobago? What kind of community is Glencoe? What kind of community is West Moorings? I have worked in Glencoe and West Moorings. I've been up there. There are many Afro people living there too. And when you say black, what do you mean by black? Are you talking about the French Creole? Are you talking about the French Creole? Because there are many French Creole in Trinidad who have strong African lineage, but they mightn't be in the typical black communities that you're thinking about. There's the red men. There are those around. So it becomes a difficult thing to try to splice together. I think what you're asking is if there's any poor black community that is like that. And no, there really isn't. But poor black communities have certain struggles. I won't deny that. But communities where wealthier blacks go to, it's not like they go there and rob the place. So I'm from Belmont, and it is a mixed, all different class and mindset. Most of us raise our children to go into the workforce. Time for us to break the chain.
For me,
It's correct.
it's the thing for
Some
me.
people in Melbourne, Nathan, you never see the children. You never see the children outside.
Yes, I know that.
It just no, because at this point, you know, these kind of talk.
It's dangerous.
Oh
When
God, man.
I grew up in Gonzales, and I still shoot Gonzales, and I'm telling you,
Oh my God.
you do so you don't even know the difference between Gonzales and Belmont. You don't even know the difference between Gonzales and Belmont.
It's borders.
Stereotype it.
It's borders. Belmont break up, you know.
I feel like I have a Piers Morgan panel here. I feel like it's one of those Piers Morgan panels.
I offer this demographic thing. The problem here is for me. The problem.
Here's what. Wait. Here's what. Everyone in the panel, let's have our closing statements. Who wants to go first?
This is crazy.
I will go first.
Kermac, you go first so everybody could rebut you after because you know they are going to. Go ahead, Kermac.
Well, to try to be realistic, because this is one of the issues that we face with Trinidad and Tobago, and we like to bury our heads in the sand. We like to justify and make excuses for foolishness. And that is why we are the bottom of the barrel. Spanish come in, and Spanish elevated themselves faster than us. You understand? And it's because we keep justifying or making excuses for nonsense. And that's why I say, go back to the home, discipline, wake up. Take example from other communities and races and what they want to say. We are the ones that in our children. And that is the bottom line.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Listen, I know what's funny.
Gonzales Belmont.
I don't want to hear.
Who's next?
No one. I will ask. Because it's a great.
Okay.
Lestra.
I will go second. I agree with some of what Kermac is saying. It does come down to mindset and the way how people choose to operate. We need to know what we are teaching our children. We need to instill values. We need to discipline them. At the same time, we also need to acknowledge that there are certain factors that are at play, that are certain communities in the states that they are in, right? It is very hard for people
The water system.
and working a whole hour and could only buy a bread and it's more mouths to feed, right? And we cutting down on social program, you do know, and saying don't be dependent on this. True, you tell them, you never tell them go and make all these children, but think about it, they make less children, it means less taxes being collected. Right, this is how our economy is run. So we need children to be born so that our country can continue running smoothly. But at the same time, we need to discipline our children and instill values in them so that this madness would not continue. It starts with us as individuals. But we cannot ignore the facts of the things that are happening. We all have an opportunity to make a change, but we cannot ignore the realities that many people face. It's not that easy for many people. And we need to take this thing into consideration. Many people don't want to go out there and kill and steal and do all these things. But because the opportunities are not what they're supposed to be, all these things will take into place. It's a gang wars going on out there. People want to go out and work, but you're going to the next area and they kill you simply because of where you're from. We can't ignore these things.
True.
Thanks for allowing me to speak it. I enjoy the live so much. You know, and all of us have contributions here, and I think all of what we say has value, and no point is more important than the next. All of it has to work together for this to change. Have a blessed night. I'll close with that.
You too, Lestra. Yeah, Abu.
Yeah, people need to stop this social classing thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
A man can't just be sit down and he put you a jeep and drive through a community we don't know nothing about. Because he deal with some pests and feel the whole community like that, right? Gonzales, I could talk about Belmont. I could talk about. I trust them streets. It have a line in Belmont. I said something Gonzales, but you rush him out.
Cremak, let the man finish.
You see, man, come on, man.
Right? You see when you cross that circular road and you go on that next side of Belmont, it's a different set of people living on that side of Belmont. It's in that ghetto vibes over there. Right? Right now, if they want to talk about a community improving, I see a man talk gentrification as if black people do have millions of dollars in this country too. The same people who build West Hills, East Lake, building condos in Belmont right now. If the community was so unsafe and terrible, would they have been building $1 million condos there for people to go and live? People who are allegedly well off? Do them know something we don't know then? It's a families in Gonzales self who I never see the turn in the road all the years I live in Gonzales. School, church, inside. Guys how they living? Well-off families, like, not because it's unsafe. It's not because it's unsafe, that's just how they just live.
Yeah.
So you can't just come in your patrol vehicle and respond to some crime and feel like the whole community and the whole district, you're out of time. And
you know, Abu, as you say that, something I realized driving through many ghetto areas is many ghetto areas are huge. You might think, if you have never been to Carenage, you think Carenage is the main road. When people talk about Carenage and war, you just know you drive down Carenage on the main road to go Shagaram or something. How big Carenage is huge. When you start going in those side streets and turning this way and turning that, you understand it's a massive place. So sometimes when they're talking about the crime and the hotspot and this and that, it's actually a small amount of people in specific places in the communities. And it's not the entirety of the community. And the problem with that, I think, in the way, at least I understand the point Cremak is trying to make, and I make that point all the time, that specifically if you're in a certain community and you see the difficulties of the community, don't lean into the difficulties. You have to put in extra work to make sure that you exit. Correct. But at the same time, as an onlooker, it is, even if you're part of the community, but you're onlooking too, it is unfair to attempt to attribute an entire group characteristic to each individual of the group. That's the problem with the communists and collectivism. Yeah, Hotep.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I'm trying to get at. You see, these, you know, I had to go there today. I had to go there tonight because I'm a Pan-African bag. I'm a pro-black bag. These right-wing conservative talking points about black communities being sworn with crime and criminality. This is outrageous things we're talking about. We want to attribute 1% of violent beings within the community to everybody. It's the same kind of talking points feminists use to try to mass generalize men, like if most men doing murdering them and raping them or whatever. That's ridiculous, man. You know what? Here's the thing. I'm not saying that the black community doesn't have problems. We have problems. I believe our communities are becoming destabilized every day. But nowhere these problems could be to the extreme of more than what it is, right? Yes, families need to be put together and all that good stuff. But where have we reached from trying to reestablish a kind of normalcy within the black community to thinking that all of a sudden black people are just inherently criminal, like minded? That's the most ridiculous thing. But I expect no less from the TTPS. I expect no less from our law enforcement class because they have this hint. You know what? I'm really about to be on that type of time, and I believe the law enforcement class is a kind of buffer class. The political class uses the law enforcement class to be a buffer class, and since they use the law enforcement class like this, the law enforcement, the police officers believe themselves a little bit more, elitist than the civilians. So it's like, oh, we lord over you. We could tell you what to do and where to go, and we see it every day, right? Slapping men phones out their hands and stuff, telling men, come and do my work or else I will lock you up. That kind of behavior, you know what I'm saying? That kind of the body hinge of that, you know what I'm saying? Listen, when I talk to you, they will slap a man in the road if he find he watch them different. That's what we're talking about. And we have to deal with this every day. And when people get vexed when black people start to talk about look at the behaviors and treatment we get, because we have people who think like this. That will be law enforcement. This is crazy. But all right, cool.
Ooh, what a night.
What more to say?
I know that. I see in the mic what is going on.
I'm watching you. It will have to go and walk in these spaces. They're talking so nice after I'll be after 8. I want to go walk in these areas and talk positive stuff.
Ali, you free to walk
Walk to these areas.
Short pants and socks, I could walk now. You're not going there without a uniform.
That's the opportunity, brother. I'm gonna go them two fellas. They did that dream. That's the opportunity.
All right, people. Yes. Thank you. We all had the closing statements, people. It was nice. It was active. Riyadh, to answer your question, bro, that what you said, police purpose is to protect capital, is basically true. The thing is, hopefully they would have protected everyone's capital, and then it would have been well. But to answer your question about how many criminals I think there are, I would say, according to what you mean, if you mean like lifestyle living, violent style crime, robbing people, that kind of thing, no more than 20,000 in the country. No more than 20,000. That's what I'd see. Across the entire country, I think there's no more than 20,000. And the ones that are very active, doing most of the dirt, maybe less than 1,000. The other 19,000, what is called them? Drones? Them is just drones, they circle. You know, it have a term, even in the underworld, they just drones, they kind of just circling and making up numbers. But the ones that are really doing the dirt, I think less than 1,000.
Well, just Nathan, the two bosses I live and experience in Gonzales. One was Douglas, one was East Indian. You know what I'm telling you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It do have 100 bona fide young members in Gonzales. It do have 100. If you line up all of them and count them, it's not reaching 100. Out of a whole community. But if you have 50 men, you have 15s and Dracos, they have power. And they're intimidating people, nobody not gonna snitch on them because you can't snitch to the police because you can't trust them.
Correct.
So they have power.
Yeah. All right, people, before we draw in further.
Yeah, you really can't talk to the police. The woman went the other day and tell the police, and then they come and they off the woman before the end of the day. And they say, say something, me ain't see nothing.
All right. On that note, people, it is midnight. 1 minute past midnight now. I'm in my pro-black African bag. I'm not coming out. Hotep, bro, you got to put on the kufi and come in. All right, people.
I have it ready now.
You have it ready?
Yeah, I have it ready. This is crazy.
I hope you're educated, informed, or most certainly entertained. And I thank you all for tuning in. This was nice. It was nice. And even with the friction and the name calling and stuff, I think all of that is still good in terms of getting the views out there, hearing the differing views, challenging your views even. And even with the insults, Krimak and Hotep and Abu would be right here talking to each other again, because it's not that kind of personal level. All right, people? I'll see you guys again for the next Mindful Live, which is going to be tomorrow night for the next Mindful Live around that 9:30 p.m. time before we reach down in Belmont and Gonzales again. Good night. This was good. It was fun. Let's try to take care of your truck.